ripped out of bed in the middle of the night by an invisible ghoul? I'm talking about Katie from the original 2007 Paranormal Activity. Directed by Oren Paley, this low-budget found-footage horror film was made for just $15,000, a ridiculously tiny amount compared to most Hollywood horror movies. But after getting picked up by a major studio, the movie ended up making over $193 million. Yes, that is one of the highest profits in film history. And all of that success came from a simple, terrifying idea. What if you set up a camera to capture what happens in your house at night? Before we get started, let me warn you, there are going to be some spoilers in this video. We're going to break down the scariest night of Paranormal Activity and do a full run-through of the plot and key elements of the movie. Subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all the new videos. We have a bunch of great movie scenes to break down coming out every week, so hit that button. Paranormal Activity stars Katie Featherston and Micah Sloat. Katie and Micah move in together and start experiencing strange, unexplainable things at night. Katie reveals that she's been haunted by something since she was a child, and Micah becomes curious and decides to document everything with his video camera. However, it was a huge mistake. The film is slow and subtle at first, but by the time we reach the epic scenes where Katie is dragged out of her bed, the horror has escalated to a level no one was prepared for. And just to make things even creepier, the movie originally had multiple endings, including one that was so disturbing that the producer himself suggested changing it. But before we talk about the horrifying scene, let's go through everything that led us there. The story follows a young girl named Katie who has recently moved into her boyfriend's house. Apparently, Micah seems like a nice, friendly guy, but he's not good at understanding the consequences of his careless actions. The personality trait will eventually lead him towards the worst outcome. As soon as the couple moves in together, they start feeling a strange presence around them. Therefore, the film opens with Micah testing his new camera, excitedly explaining that he plans to document the strange things happening in their home. From the very start, you can tell that Micah doesn't take the situation seriously. He treats it like an interesting science experiment, while Katie is noticeably uncomfortable. She's not excited about being filmed, but Micah insists that if weird stuff is happening, they should capture it on camera. Soon we understand the reason behind Katie's discomfort. This isn't the first time she's experienced paranormal activity. Since childhood, she's been haunted by something. She doesn't know what it is, but it follows her wherever she goes. When she was younger, her family home mysteriously caught fire, but she was not harmed. Since then, the feeling of being watched never left her. Now, in this new home, the activity has started again. At first, Micah is skeptical about the childhood story, but his curiosity makes him continue the experiment. He sets the camera up in their bedroom to record what happens while they sleep. During the first few nights, nothing major happens. The door moves slightly, a few creaks and thuds echo through the house, but nothing terrifying. Katie insists that the presence is getting stronger, but Micah laughs it off. Then, the noises get louder. One night they hear heavy footsteps echoing throughout the hallway, but when Micah investigates, he finds nothing there. Still, he refuses to believe they're in any danger, joking that if there really was a ghost, he'll just handle it himself. However, Katie needs professional help, so the couple invites a psychic, Dr. Fredericks, to their home. The psychic listens to Katie's story and immediately senses a dark presence. He tells them it isn't a ghost, it's something much worse, a demon. Unlike ghosts, demons do not just haunt houses, they possess people's bodies and control their minds. As the psychic does not have enough knowledge about demonic behavior, he advises the couple to contact a professional demonologist. But Micah calls this nonsense and doesn't bother to contact anyone else. However, with each passing day, the footsteps and rumbling sounds keep getting louder. Then, one night the activity intensifies. Katie wakes up in the middle of the night and quietly stares at Micah. She stays in the same position for 2 hours straight. Afterwards, she walks out of the room and Micah finds her in the backyard, but Katie doesn't know how she ended up there. She also doesn't remember staring at Micah for such a long time. Now, it's quite obvious that there's some supernatural being in their house, but instead of seeking help, Micah is determined to handle the matter by himself. He keeps challenging the demon to show itself that results in more intense and dangerous signs. Katie gets furious and tells Micah that provoking it is a terrible idea, but he refuses to stop. He even brings home a Ouija board to communicate with the demon. They argue, and she storms out of the house. While they're gone, the camera, still running, catches something chilling. The planchette on the Ouija board moves on its own, spelling out a message. Then, without warning, the board bursts into flames. After seeing the recording, Micah is officially freaked out, but he still refuses to leave. Katie, on the other hand, knows the presence is getting stronger, and she can feel it watching her at all times. Her energy is drained, and she wants to leave as soon as possible. Despite her vulnerable condition, Micah still tries to catch the demon and spreads Katie's baby powder on the floor. The next morning, they find something truly disturbing. A trail of strange footprints marked on the baby powder which ends up in the attic. There, Katie finds her childhood photo that was supposedly destroyed in the house fire. The couple invites the psychic again, but he still refuses to help. Katie wants to hire the demonologist, but unfortunately he's out of the country. The only option they are left with is waiting for the demonologist to return. However, the demon is not obligated to wait with them. It is ready to take control and exhibit the show nobody was prepared for. On the 20th night, Katie and Micah are peacefully sleeping in their bedroom with the camera still turned on. Unseen presence enters the room and starts dragging Katie out of her bed. She screams for Micah and he jumps out of bed. They go out of sight from the camera, but you can still hear her screaming and it leaves you feeling so tense not knowing what's going on. They get back to the room and hold each other on the floor, clearly very distressed from the events that night. This scene is a very intense moment and left audiences completely shaken up. Up until this point, the film had slowly been building tension with creepy noises, shadowy figures, and subtle movements, but this night is when the demon finally stops toying with them and shows just how powerful it actually is. Katie isn't just disturbed in her sleep, she's violently pulled out of bed and dragged screaming down the hallway. Just imagine how helpless she must have felt. The thought itself was enough to scare the audience, but the found footage style makes it feel disturbingly real. Another highlight is that we don't actually see what happens to Katie or Micah after he rushes downstairs. We're left only with bone-chilling screams, forcing us to imagine the absolute worst. It depicts how helpless a person gets under demonic possession, and that's exactly why it's the turning point of this movie, making us truly scared. In the original version, the movie ends with a message that Micah's body was discovered by the police while Katie went missing. However, there were multiple endings of Paranormal Activity. After getting under Paramount Pictures, they released a different ending where Katie left Micah's body in the living room. It was discovered by her friend who informed the police. Upon seeing the police officers, the demon leaves Katie's body and causes a disturbance in the attic. Because of the sudden noise, the police officer panics and shoots Katie. In another version, Katie returns to the bedroom alone and slits her neck in front of the camera before it turns black. No doubt, each of these endings were terrifying in their own way and left a huge impact on the audience. After its success, the production company released one after another movie in this series. All of them had the same found footage style, but different stories. Sure, Paranormal Activity isn't perfect. Its slow build can test your patience, the characters don't always make the smartest choices, and its found footage style isn't for everyone. But what does it get right? Atmosphere, dread, and that creeping, inescapable feeling that something is watching. Even years later, its minimalist approach to horror still works, proving you don't need a big budget or flashy effects to terrify an audience. It may have spawned a wave of copycats, but the original still holds up as a landmark in modern horror, because sometimes the scariest things are the ones you never see. And truly, if we look at the budget, this movie still deserves an applause. Even under limited resources, Paranormal Activity still gathered a huge profit and made its place in the list of best horror films. The moment Katie is dragged out of bed and yanked into darkness, Paranormal Activity goes from slow-burning tension to pure, unrelenting terror. Up until then, we're just uneasy, watching doors creak and shadows move. But this scene? This is when we realize the demon isn't just toying with them, it's taking control. It's the moment that cements the film's power, not just a horror movie, but as an experience, one that lingers long after the credits roll. And that's why Paranormal Activity isn't just scary, it feels real, and that's what makes it truly terrifying. So, have you seen Paranormal Activity? Did the bed scene on night 20 terrify you as much as it did everyone else? How did you feel when the movie ended? Let's talk in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe.